I have searched into the recesses of my basement to find all the components to do this video. It's been a while. My oldest, who is in 7th grade, she's finishing 7th grade, did Abeka 3. So I have all of the Abeka curriculum. Oh man, brings back memories. All my Abeka videos, and I have The Good and the Beautiful, Level 3, the current edition. I got the spelling book. I got the books here. So I am missing a couple things from Abeka, which is their spelling and their readers. But I'm going to try to do a comprehensive overview of what the difference is between Abeka and The Good and the Beautiful. So first we're going to do The Good and the Beautiful. So it comes with, if you get the complete kit, it comes with the course book, which has in it phonics, writing, reading, grammar and punctuation, spelling, literature, geography, and art. Yes, it is a lot that comes with it, but it's good things. Spelling practice book, and then it comes with 4 readers. Basically, you have the student will read 1 page, and then the parent or teacher will read the next page. And there's a chapter a day usually that they're reading. And then there is some phonics practice. So the child will go over that first. There's some vocabulary words, and then you would read the next chapter. And it's usually only 5 or 6 pages. There's pictures and illustrations, challenging words. So you can do this together. That's how it's recommended. My daughter, we did it this one together the first little bit, and then she wanted to just do it on her own, which is fine. I do have her read aloud just to every once in a while, just to make sure, you know, she's pronouncing things correctly. But there's going to be 4 of these. So we have Timothy of the 10th Floor, The Kingdom of Kind, Heather and the Highland Pony, and The Journey of 5. And it will tell you when to read what. Next thing you have, actually, well, let's do this. Let's go with the course book. So it's going to be 120 lessons. It's supposed to be done 4 days a week. And there's going to be a unit. It's broken up into 4 units. There's going to be a unit 1 overview, and then it's going to get right into it. So they're trying to have this kind of be a transition, because in level 4, it's pretty much mostly independent. And so they want to have part of the lesson be independent, and then part of the lesson with the parent as well. So as usual, and true The Good and the Beautiful style, there is always beautiful pictures, beautiful illustrations. They are basing many of their lessons on the artwork. And so I really appreciate that. My daughter loves that. 2 of my other girls didn't. This daughter does. So again, this is, when considering this, you have to decide what your child is going to really enjoy. They also have an app. It says play this video in place of the lesson or after the lesson if the child could use further help. So the subject of a sentence. So they would have maybe like a 5 to 6 minute video kind of explaining what the subject of a sentence is. And you can do that if you like, or you could just read the lesson, which is a little bit easier. And then they would give, you would do this together. The cow walks, you know, they would have to do that. This is the lesson practice. You would do this together. And then this is an artist study. So this is reading comprehension. They have reading comprehension all throughout. And then there is creative writing, and then they have a writing and art. So again, go to their app. You would listen to an audio narration, and then you would do your own creative writing. And then what I like about this is it's different all the time. So the lessons no 2 lessons are ever really going to look alike. Sometimes the lessons on the app are optional, and then sometimes like that is the main lesson. So this is the main lesson of this one, and it is the CK and CK rule. And then after that, you would do spelling dictation in the spelling practice book. So this is lesson 2. So you would go over here. You definitely need these 2 together. This isn't an optional thing. If you want to work on this, it has to be done together. So they always have a little riddle. My daughter loves that. She loves the little riddles. And then she would just go, so this is what you would be dictating, and then they would go in their spelling book and then write it that way based on their lesson that they watched, which was a video lesson. The video lessons, there's maybe like, I don't know, I don't want to say a number, maybe every like 10 lessons or so, there's a video lesson. So it's mostly parent-led. It's not online a lot if you're worried about screen time and all of that. And then they do independent work. So that is the entire lesson. Independent work is the homophones, more homophone practice, subjects, reviewing what you learned in lesson 1, and then editing the sentence and a journal. What I do for this is that every other lesson they give you one of these spelling books, but it just seems like a lot to do 2 pages of this one day and then nothing the next day. And so what I do is I say, okay, for lesson 2, you would do this page. And then lesson 3, you would do this page. And then lesson 4, you would do this one, lesson 5, and so on and so forth. And that way she's doing 1 page of this a day. And so it's not like lopsided on work. And then another thing is it will tell you when to do. So complete chapter 3 with the child of Timothy and the 10th floor. Complete the lesson, have them do the practice section independently. Oh, they do this independently. I always do this together. Whatever. You can do it independently or together. It doesn't really matter. She always does the independent work. She always does that by herself, but usually we do this together. So this is kind of what it's going to look like. I don't want to go too far more into the lessons, but you get an idea. So it's going to have geography in it. It's going to have, of course, art. It's going to have writing, creative writing, and sentence writing and sentence structure. It still is going to have phonics at this point. And then here we have, this is what their tests look like. After every 30 lessons or so, they're going to have a reading assessment, and then this is what the test is. And if they need additional practice, let's say they didn't get it, there's additional practice. And then you go into the next lesson. And how their spelling works, it's going to have designated words that are a little bit harder. And then, so for that whole 30 lessons, these are the words that they're going to be working on. Then they will practice these colors. And these are the spelling rules they will be doing and their review words, but mostly, again, for spelling, these will be the spelling words they will be working on throughout the entire unit. So it's just colorful, creative for sure. My daughter, who loves art, loves this program. She never gives me a hard time. There's a good amount of, again, parent work. The lessons take maybe 10 minutes. The independent work depends on how quick your child, goes. It could take a while, or it could be really quick, but it's not overwhelming. Or, you could always divvy up the work if it's a lot. But I would recommend definitely having the spelling book to go along with it, just because it does add an extra element to it. So this gives you an idea. Again, they are doing writing this year, more so than in level 2 for sure. But it's to kind of prepare them for level 4, which will be even more so. Okay, so that is that. This is going to be a lot of sentence dictation is mostly what it's going to be, and working on the spelling rules is mostly what this is going to be. Sentence dictation, but also words as well. And then, oh, I skipped that page apparently. And then the spelling words that you do for that unit. So it's going to be the same ones every day for that unit. Okay, so this is just gives you an idea. So whereas The Good and the Beautiful has pretty much all of the components in one, as long as you get the readers and the spelling work in the book, you should be good. That's pretty much all there is. With Abeka, there's much more to it. I don't have the readers because we never really use the readers. You don't really necessarily need the readers to do this course. They do have a reading comprehension book that you can use, which we used, but this isn't the same thing as the readers. Now, The Good and the Beautiful has reading comprehension built into it. This you would have to purchase separately. And then the writing, which I'll get into in just a minute, but for now I'm going to start off with the language book. Now this is grammar and writing, but this book itself is just mostly grammar. They will have you writing some sentences and things like that, but as far as like papers go and creative writing, that is in this other binder that I will show you. So this is going to have 170 lessons. This is much more traditional. So it's going to have be very textbooky, I guess is the word you want to use if you want to call it that. And it's going to have tests that you can get, formal tests. We did not get the tests, or maybe she did. I can't remember. It's been so long. But either way, you don't need these. It's just, you could just do this and you would be totally fine. So here is the lessons. There's 170 lessons. There's different themes throughout the lessons. And whereas the Good and the Beautiful only has 4 tests every, one test every 30 lessons, this one has one, I believe it's scheduled weekly, I believe. If not weekly, maybe every 10 lessons or so. So I had the teacher guide. Now, the other thing with this is that there is no teacher guide. You have to buy it separately. So if you want to do a lesson and teach the lesson, actually do the exercises and things like that, you have to get the teacher guide separately. I do have a video on that I did a couple years ago, and I'll link it below if you want to see what that looks like. But if not, if you're like, you know what, this is fine, my child picks up things quickly, you technically do not need it. Now that's kind of controversial. Some people say you do need it, but some say you don't. I don't think it's not required to do the course. You can, whatever is taught in that lesson is honestly summed up here. It's just good to have a review, and it kind of goes into more detail. And so we did the teacher lesson, or the lesson plans. Again, they took maybe 10 minutes, but it's not 100% necessary. Okay, so you have here, this is lesson 1. It is going to be the front and the back. That's it, front and back. Sentences, again, it's going to tell you what a sentence is, and here's proofreader marks. And so it's just going to, very simple, very straightforward. Here, exercise. This is the exercise, this one, and then write. Now, this was the beginning of 3rd grade when we were not big fans of writing, and so apparently this did not get done. Then you're at lesson 2. This is a declarative sentence and what makes it declarative, interrogative, and what makes it interrogative. And then they're going to go through and say if it's declarative or interrogative, and then another exercise, and then in the back. So these lessons are all going to look very similar as opposed to the Good and the Beautiful, where they are different. And so again, my child, 2 of my girls enjoyed this. They don't need the frills and the fluff of the Good and the Beautiful. They're like, just give me the information, and I don't know, I guess we missed a couple lessons, I don't know. Give me the information and I will go from there. Like, I just want to do the work, do the exercises, get the information done. I don't need all the other stuff. I don't need to look at works of art to find 3 nouns and 3 adjectives. Like, I just want to do this. So they do add little fun things in there every once in a while. Clearly my child did not care about coloring that, but this gives you a good idea of, for the most part, it's going to really just be straightforward. They will have some writing in there every so often, but for the most part, this is just the writing course. And again, at the top of every page, they're always going to summarize what you learned in the lesson, so you could always do that. Here's a book report. Pretty simple, good for 3rd grade. There is a book report in the Good and the Beautiful. I skipped it, I didn't show it, but they do have that. But here is pretty nice and simple and straightforward, built in. As far as logistics go, they are not doing any phonics or anything, because they hound phonics. They drill it in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade so much that by 3rd grade they just don't do any more phonics. They're getting into the, kind of like the meat of it, which is more grammar. So this is really going to be focused on grammar. So this is like being verbs. I really like the way that Abeka does being verbs. I want to say that, versus action verbs. The Good and the Beautiful, they introduce action verbs and being verbs like at the same time, and it was a little bit confusing for my daughter. Abeka does action verbs and makes sure the child is really familiar with action verbs, and then it introduces being verbs afterwards, which I think makes more sense. Okay, writing a letter. So here you go. Diagramming sentences. Editing. So you're doing that. As far as content goes, they're going to be very similar. Abeka is very strong as far as its grammar goes, so they might be doing a little bit more in Abeka. The Good and the Beautiful might be a little bit more gentle, but in the Good and the Beautiful, they are diagramming sentences with adjectives and adverbs at this level too. So they're going to be pretty on par. I think what the difference is just style. Then you have the reading comprehension skill sheets. So these are going to be very straightforward. This is, you're going to read, and then you are going to answer some questions at the end. So although the exercises will change a little bit, they are going to vary. But again, it's mostly just what did you read, and then doing the comprehension aspect of it. You want to get the answer key for this one so that you don't have to go through and have to reread it all. I don't know. I just found it's easier for a couple dollars. Just get the answer key. Just makes life a little bit easier. So this is the reading comprehension. It's not necessary, but I think it's good. I think it just adds an extra little layer. And again, this is incorporated with the Good and the Beautiful, but this with the Abeka, it's going to be separate. So this is a writing with purpose. This is penmanship and the creative writing aspect of it. So the first part of the year, they're just going to be working on their cursive handwriting and doing different cursive exercises. So that'll be the first part. And then the second part of the year will be their actual writing, their actual like reports and creative writing and things like that. So here is a animal report that she did. So she had to write about it. And there was creative, like I said, there's creative writing. She had to do a bumblebee. There was a reptile she had to do. So, and then they give blank pages for, again, creative writing. They have a picture, write about this story. So she did that. Here's another one, write about this story. So she was, I remember she was excited to do that. So you can see that there's different aspects to this. It's all in one, whereas the Good and the Beautiful, the writing, again, is all together. This you are going to have to get separately. But I don't know. I thought it was good in the fact of, like, there is definitely a variety, and she did a good amount of writing this year when she worked on it compared to Lola, who's worked doing the Good and the Beautiful this year. She's not doing this much writing now that I'm looking at it. Like, she definitely isn't even coming close to this much writing. But it also depends on your child. Like, if your child is not super strong in that yet, this might be too much, but maybe they need a good challenge. My daughter Larissa, who did this a couple years ago, didn't really love writing, but she did these, you know, the book reports and the things like that. So if you want to do the writing, you're gonna, again, have to get this separately. Or you could just do your own writing course, a different writing course and a different reading comprehension course if you're just looking for grammar and that's all you want to do. You just want something straightforward, to the point, no nonsense. This might be a really good option for you. So again, there's pros, there's cons to each. Not one is better than the other. Not one is stronger than the other. It just really depends. My one daughter loved this one. My other daughter loved this one. So it's really not what's better. It's just going to be what's better and best for your child. So I hope you liked this video. I hope you were able to get a good comparison. If there's any questions, leave them below and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.